Busy, in my mind, is bad. If you're busy, you've got no time to think. If you're busy, you've got no time to look forward. You've got no time to imagine what the possibility is into the future. You've got no time to plan. Welcome back to Cardcast, the podcast where Milan and I pick a card at random from a deck of cards just like this. A deck of cards that Milan has designed and created and produced. Let's shuffle the deck and see what pops out.
Luxury to waste time. I think, to be honest with you, I kind of think that title no longer applies. I think that my thinking evolved around it, and I don't think of wasting time as a luxury anymore. I think it's an absolute necessity for a CEO of all levels. Like, if you can't waste time, then you probably are having difficulties with prioritization, and you're probably one of those people wearing the badge of honor, and I'm really putting it into quotation marks here, of being busy. I think that we just talked about it recently as well, right? You had a story.
Yeah. I was talking to a CEO recently, and his first comment, which I think is almost instinctive when you talk to CEOs and entrepreneurs these days, like, how are you going? And the instinctive response was, "Oh, busy, really, really busy." And that's, as you say, that's taken as a badge of honor these days. You've got to be busy to be contributing something, to be seen as being successful, valuable, worthwhile. And my perspective is completely different. And you said maybe the title of this card is wrong. I mean, I could suggest a different title, and that is "Busy is Bad." Because from my perspective, if you're busy, you've got no time to think. If you're busy, you've got no time to look forward. You've got no time to imagine what the possibility is into the future. You've got no time to plan. You've got no time to go on holiday. You've got no time to recharge. So busy, in my mind, is bad. And I know that cuts across what a lot of people think. And today's society suggests that everyone has to be busy. Everyone has to be frantic. Everyone has to hustle. I just think it's the wrong way of looking at things.
And as you are talking, so two items. One, the big bad busy. That might be a good title for that card. And second, I actually find myself guilty of that as well. And it goes in slightly, I think that the psychology behind it is slightly different. And is that at that point I am lazy to figure out how actually I am, because I'm so busy that I don't want to think for that in that situation. But it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to even say that you're busy, because that also means, like, being busy without really accomplishing much, it's all of that stuff. But going back to what you said, using time for other things than the busyness. Right? We were originally planning to record this particular episode while you were in Bali and I was in the forest in BC, right? So no fake background for anybody today, but that is the point. You just need to disconnect from things. And I don't think that for CEO that's a luxury. It's an absolute necessity. Just spoke to somebody who took 2 weeks vacation for the first time in 30 years. Can you imagine that? Like, this is absolutely not healthy, right? And frankly, the business hasn't been doing so well until they did, right? Because now they come back finally with some fresh ideas, finally with something, and saying, hey, this actually didn't break. I can actually rely on people to do this. What you want to hear from a CEO when you ask them is the ideal scenario, which is, I'm really not doing much, but you know what? The business is running just fine, right? That's kind of what would be the right answer, or the answer where I, as a coach, would feel that the CEO is in the right place when it comes to time management and their ability to waste time.
I frequently get calls from people who want my time. They want to run something past me. They want to bounce an idea off. They've got something that that's on their mind, and they invariably start with, "I know you're really busy," and I say, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not that busy. I've got lots of free time. But that's by design. Now, that's by design because I want to build my working life in that way, so I do have time to think. There's lots and lots of really thick books out there, and they don't read themselves. And you've got to build time into your schedule to be able to learn. Because if you're not learning, then you're not keeping abreast. You're not keeping ahead of your competition. So it doesn't mean you're not doing anything. It just means you're being really considered about what you're doing in between those gaps of busyness, and make those gaps of busyness as small as you can. And as you said, if you can't make them small, you've got a delegation problem. You've got a BC player problem, because there should be people there that are taking things off your plate. And if they're not, you haven't got the right team around you.
Might have a organizational design problem, right? That's actually great. Like, let's talk about it for a second. What are the things that are keeping us unproductively busy? And by unproductive, I mean it from our perspective, meaning that you're wasting a massive opportunity cost. You're busy. You might be producing value. You might be thinking you're productive, but you're not doing it at the level at which you can perform in the company as the best, right? Where you can provide the most value of the organization, because that's what you need to do. Like, you can go and check 2 million of customer support emails, and that will keep you busy for a while. The question is, as a CEO, is that something that you should be doing, right? And you might feel like you need to, but there lies the problem. So low value tasks, repetitive tasks that somehow for some reason are not, delegated, or are not owned by somebody else, that ownership has not been given for some reason. What's next? Needs to step in where you shouldn't.
Other people's jobs.
Providing solutions when you should be delegating problems. Right? We talked about this in the time audit episode quite a bit. Really, like, what is it? How do you prioritize? What is the stuff where you should be doing, where you acting in your zone of genius? Plus, again, as a visionary in the company, you need space for those visions, right? You need the ability to get the ideas in the shower, or while walking on the beach, or walking your dog, or whatever it is that you're doing. What else? What do you see often as a source of unproductive busyness?
I think there's so many. I'm sort of thinking of them through my mind. I had a conversation with the leadership team just yesterday, and they do have a B player problem in the leadership team, and it's being addressed, but it sometimes takes time, longer than you would like, and I guess they've been given an opportunity to step up. They've been given an opportunity to move up to the next level of leadership, but they're having real trouble of letting go of the things they used to do in the past. So it's not their job anymore, but they feel comfort in doing them because they can do them really, really well. And no matter how many times we say, well, yeah, that was your job and you're really good at it, but that's no longer your job now. So we're getting to the point of, has that person been promoted beyond their abilities? Are they going to be able to step up? Are they going to be able to take on those new accountabilities and let go of the old? Well, that will play out over the next few weeks, the next couple of months, I imagine. But it's a real challenge, because that's what got you to where you are. That's being really good at something is what got you there. So it's very difficult stopping doing it, because that's your identity. I'm great at this. If I do this really, really well, then we'll be successful. We'll win. We'll do a good job. So the business often comes in insidiously from not stopping doing things that you should have stopped a while ago, or not stopping doing things that you could have given to someone else. Given to someone else to give them the opportunity to step up, giving them the opportunity to pick up new skills, new experience, things like that.
I love the randomness in the cards, right? Because the fact that we're struggling sometimes, and say we know so many examples, but we didn't prepare a list to talk to them because we didn't know that this card would come up. However, I just realized that I had very topical conversations with two leadership members at one client, and they both went to the same place ultimately. And that was the focus on getting things done versus the focus on growing your team, right? Growing the team members, and how different it is in approach and how difficult it is to make that mental switch. But once you do, like, magic starts happening, right? Because if you keep doing things for people, then you're denying them the opportunity to step up or the possibility to step up, which means that you are stuck in that. You're holding them back and you're keeping yourself down instead of pulling them up and pulling yourself up through that as well. So it's a vicious cycle. And yes, what got you where you are, it's not going to get you where you're going, regardless of what position you're in. But as a CEO, especially, it's important because the one thing you don't have as a CEO is the ceiling. You don't have the things that is pushing you down. And if there is one created by market, by situation, whatever it is, it's actually your job to break through.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah,
But
it might be a bad board. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't do that if if you're holding yourself back in your zone of comfort, which is what you're talking about, right? Like, you know what? Instead of dealing with this board stuff, I would rather do some coding because I'm really good at it and it's actually fun. And then I'll spend 14 hours in it, and then yes, I can proudly declare that I am very busy. But being busy and doing the right things are two very, very different kind of worms, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I observe a CEO who has come through the sort of founder-led sales, build a very, very successful business with him as the main sales guy, focusing on his sales work, even though their pipeline is absolutely full and there's a raging fire going on in operations. No, but he doesn't want to go there because, that's not his comfort zone. But we've drifted a little bit here, haven't we? And these are all useful topics, but that we should be talking about why having time as a luxury to waste is a good thing, as opposed to the things that stop us from having time to waste. If we have the luxury to waste time, we can read, we can learn about things going on in our market, we can study our competitors, we can observe the market. Now, we can go to conferences and learn about what's going on all the way around. We can go to conferences in other industries to see if there's anything happening there that we could bring into our industry. Yeah, this is not being lazy. We're not wasting the time. We're just using the time to elevate what we're doing rather than bring it down.
I just wanted to say that actually, as a CEO, as a true CEO, you never waste time, right? Because whatever you're doing, even if it's sleeping, is for the benefit of what you're doing, because even taking care of yourself is an investment. And chances are, no matter what it is that you're doing, in the back of your mind, it still comes back to the job and to the company. So if anything, true wasting time is doing things you shouldn't. Right? So
That's
that is the
absolutely
true
right. Yeah.
that is the true wasting time, because it's wasting your time on tasks that you shouldn't be doing. You should be doing something else, including going for a walk or sleeping, because you actually ultimately provide more value or create more value, because that's the job. Then you would getting merged in those little things because you don't feel like you deserve the luxury of executive assistant who can take a whole bunch of these things off your plate, right?
But we've built a whole language around this, haven't we? I'll sleep when I'm dead. Well, you actually won't, but the death will probably come earlier than it should do.
Exactly.
If you're not getting 7-8 hours good sleep every night, you're probably leading yourself down a bit of a rocky path into the future. And if you're working that hard, you're probably not spending the time that you should be spending with your family, your wife, your children, your friends, the people that you get energy from. So this is as much a mental health thing and a physical health thing than it is a success thing. Get those two things right, the success will invariably come. Get those two things wrong, then it's probably going to be a short journey.
Yeah, and your body will give up. If you're talking about the health piece, like eventually the body tells you, hey, if you don't want to rest in any other way, then hospital it is, right?
Yep.
That's how it works.
Mhm.
Like the one thing that you absolutely need those moments for is a important ability of every visionary CEO, and that's the ability to time travel, right? Projecting yourself in the future, setting the goals,
Yeah.
imagining how the future. There is a episode, on imagining the future, right? You cannot do that from the whirlwind. You have to step away from it. And sometimes something that looks like not doing anything is actually providing you with that energy and providing you with that mental space for your brain to do the true work, which is creating those visions, learning for it, as you mentioned, gathering the information that you need in order to solidify that vision. And actually, conversation with the CEO recently, I was really concerned that because they are really, really busy, that stuff hasn't been happening, that they've been so merged in the bottom, and they're in a very, very quickly changing industry. So the vision there is absolutely critical. So I challenged them on it, and they said, no, 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 that's pretty clear. This is what's going to happen. This is, I have that all figured out and I'm thinking about it. Don't worry. I was like, hey, that's what I wanted to hear, just to make sure. I didn't want to hear, oh, I haven't had a chance to think about it they're busy, but they did make time for that. And they know that the busyness is actually temporary, given some changes that their organization is coming through and that they're going through. And that's fine, right? As long as they maintain the budget, the time budget for these things that we consider important. And they frankly, only they can do. That's the one thing they cannot delegate to anybody. They can have a conversation with someone, but ultimately it's them, because it's their responsibility and their accountability to point the company into the right direction. And you can't do that unless you've been there already in your mind. It's actually another learning from a pilot school that, I apply in my coaching, which is don't ever point the airplane into a place you haven't been to yet in your mind.
Yes.
Right? You say, okay, this is the end state, and now we're managing towards that, and then we do it again, and then we do it again. Otherwise, the airplane's flying you. You're not flying the airplane.
Yeah. And we're not talking literal time travel here. We're just looking at projecting ourselves forward so we can look back into the past. And a great book for that is Time as a Tool by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. That's a really good book to explore that concept.
I actually think that that's the most actual, most literal form of time travel we'll ever be able to do. So I don't think that qualification was necessary. But
yeah, well, maybe there's another card there, right? Maybe there's another card.
Oh, there absolutely is. All right.
Yeah. Okay, luxury to waste time. And I think the real message here is you're actually wasting time if you're doing low value, low energy work. So the name is wrong, but it probably puts the message across. We need to have time that we can use in a considered way, time that works well for us. You're not wasting it. It's a luxury. It's actually essential, but you need to find that time.